This is the game of life. The game of life is created with very simple rules. A cell exists in either an alive or dead state. For a cell to stay alive, it needs 3 neighboring cells. If it doesn't have enough neighbors, it dies. This rule applies to the following generations, and from there the game continues, and cells that seem to have only 2 variables, alive or dead, eventually turn into things like this. This game of life was created by the hands of mathematician John Horton Conway in the year. It remains the only game that has no player. Even though no one plays it, it is still one of the most fascinating games humanity has ever witnessed. Despite having incredibly simple rules, it somehow manages to simulate our everyday lives. How can such simple rules describe our lives? To answer that, we first need to define what life is. What is life? What does it mean to live? We witness life every day. It's right in front of us. It lies in every leaf, in the sounds of traffic, in birdsong, and even in the wind. Life exists everywhere on this blue planet, on the ground, in the clouds, and even deep underground. But do we call the damp burrowing of worms life? Do we call the frightening stillness of trees life? What is life? Is it waking up, going to work, coming home, eating, and sleeping? Or is it going to school, doing homework, then repeating everything the next day? So what exactly is life? Can we even define what life is? Is life a concept made only for humanity? Do only humans have life while other species do not? If that is true, what separates us from the other beings on this planet? And ultimately, the most urgent question we must ask ourselves: are we truly living? Are we truly living? Today, many lifestyle movements appear all over the internet. The grindset or hustler mindset, focusing on building your career and using every second to create some kind of value. The FIRE movement, earning as much as possible to retire early. These movements revolve around the idea that life only truly begins when we retire, when we no longer have to work, and only then are we allowed to live freely. Does life only begin when we stop working? Does that mean if we are lucky, we might retire in our 40s and only then begin to live? And if we are not lucky, do we never actually live? This kind of lifestyle doesn't promise a bright future for those who follow it. What it promises instead are exhausting days and countless difficulties, accompanied by motivational words from influencers. Have the people promoting these lifestyles actually succeeded? Not necessarily. But one thing we can be certain of is the huge amount of money they make from selling courses that encourage young people to chase these trends. On top of that, with the speed of technological development, the life we speak of has suddenly become much easier. In the past, if we wanted food, we had to cook. Now food arrives with a tap on the phone. Someone could stay home all day, go nowhere, speak to no one, and still have every need met from A to Z. We created technology to support daily life, and now it has become something we can't live without. Going out without a phone feels terrifying. Some people can't even go to the bathroom without it. And when we open our phones, we see friends and acquaintances doing fun, exciting activities that we also want to join. We want the things others have. They seem fulfilled, so we assume we will be fulfilled too if we have what they have. And so life becomes a race to chase new, exciting things to fill the emptiness inside us. Why do we do that? Since when did following strangers become our instinct? As children, we hated listening to our parents. We wanted freedom, individuality, a sense of self to assert who we are. We had big dreams, big ambitions, and we didn't want anyone to interfere with our decisions. Yet now, we look at strangers' faces online, listen to their voices, and buy things that don't bring us any happiness. Why is that? And speaking of dreams and ambitions, we once wanted to become doctors, writers, astronauts, great people we saw on screens. But now, our dreams have become a bowl of rice on the table and a stable job that pays enough each month. Throughout life, we gradually realize our expectations, letting go of what we once wanted, and normalizing our desires. In the end, when asked what we truly want, very few of us can answer the question. Why is that? Our brain has a fascinating system called the reward system. It gives us positive emotions when we do something beneficial. It fuels desire, gives us ambition, and rewards us with satisfaction once we obtain what we want. Thanks to this mechanism, we can overcome difficulties, because we know the reward awaits us afterward. However, in the modern world, this system is easily manipulated. With the expansion of the internet, we can access the world more easily than ever. We can search for anything in seconds. If we want food, we find food. If we want a drink, we find a drink. If we want entertainment, we open games, movies, and music. Convenience is what we wanted, but used improperly, it creates dependence. The pull to refresh and infinite scrolling mechanisms on social media are clear examples. We've grown too used to scrolling until something interesting appears. A little dopamine spike whenever we see something exciting pushes us to keep scrolling. Hours disappear, forming conditioned behavior. When we are bored, we pick up the phone and scroll. From this user behavior, social media platforms changed and refined their content systems to keep us there longer. Now, just by swiping up or down, we get an endless stream of content each minute. Within 15 minutes, we consume a massive amount of information, but retain almost none of it. It's all just a dopamine shock our brains demand. When we are hungry, we eat. When we are thirsty, we drink. When we are bored, we scroll. Hunger, thirst, cold, heat. These are survival mechanisms. But since when did boredom become a survival need? After escaping the survival era of primitive humans, we entered an era of boredom. Has convenience made us bored with everything? The more entertainment we have, the more bored we feel? Is this a paradox? The more we have, the less we feel? Maybe things aren't that simple. When we were in school, we spent most of our time following instructions. This repeated for years until we became accustomed to being controlled and guided. Our motivation to study, do homework, or prepare for exams usually came from fear or external pressure rather than personal desire. This is extrinsic motivation, motivation coming from the outside instead of from within. So what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation is easy to associate with things we love. When we like someone, we are motivated to approach them and talk to them every day. When we enjoy a game, we are motivated to play it for hours without boredom. When we love building something, we don't mind the sun, the rain, the dirt. We just want to create. Intrinsic motivation is driven by inspiration rather than external pressure. And that's true. School and grades teach us to act for results. It doesn't matter how we arrive at the answer. As long as we mark the correct bubble, we get points. As adults, we are no better. Work becomes a results-oriented loop. The salary at the end of the month and the numbers in a report matter more than what we did to achieve them. Eventually, life pushes us into a state where we work only for the outcome. This mindset causes the process to be ignored. From there, boredom appears. Frustration grows. Motivation fades. This lack of motivation makes everything feel like a burden. It appears clearly every morning when we drag ourselves out of bed to work. Why do we have to go? Why wake up early? The answer is always, because of the paycheck. Why isn't the answer, because I enjoy this job? When extrinsic motivation is all we have, everything becomes dull. We become bored, so we escape into distractions, social media, smartphones, and darker temptations. In the book Intrinsic Motivation by Stephen Falk, there's a statistic about phone usage. According to Apple's data, the average iPhone user checks their phone about 80 times a day, nearly 30,000 times a year. The temptation of smartphones makes us unfocused at work yet gives the brain little rewards every time we open them. With such frequent use, it's no wonder we feel bored with work and life. So how do we fix this? The first step is to focus on what we are doing and learn to enjoy it. It sounds simple but is incredibly hard and requires strong discipline. In this era of overwhelming information, we can't suddenly detach ourselves from social media or external motivations. So instead of letting this video force you to get up and do something, you can reflect on what you've been doing. Ask yourself, am I enjoying this? Or am I letting everything pass meaninglessly? You walk on the street, but is your mind drifting? You go to work, but are you thinking of fantasies elsewhere? Are you truly aware of what's happening around you? Let's start from there. What is life? What does it mean to live? Why does the game of life describe our lives? Because it lies in how we enjoy what surrounds us. Why wait until retirement to enjoy life when every new day is a blank page? Why let time slip away when we can pause and be grateful for our existence? What would life be if we didn't savor its moments of elevation? And in the end, intrinsic motivation is messy, often tied to inconsistent emotions. But if we use it properly, if we balance it with our own basic rules, only then do we truly begin to live.